Welcome to the Strangers on the Way podcast. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest to you because she has a heart of gold. Her name is Cassie Nance. She is a mama of two, a daughter who's 15, a son who's 13. She is a wife. She is a homeschool teacher, and so much more. She has a passion for parenting, and as I've gotten to know her through my ministry school, I've just been so moved by her heart and by how she loves so intentionally. And so I'm really excited for you just to hear from her and hear her thoughts and hear her journey and to be blessed by her today. So Cassie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. You're so sweet. I'm going to start crying already.
That's okay. We're not foreign to tears, are we? Well, would you just share a little bit about you so listeners can kind of get to know a bit of who you are?
So as Lauren said, I am a homeschooling mom. I'm married. I've been married for 17 years to my amazing husband. And I have two kids who are also amazing. And I live in Ventura County, California, and we love the beach and going places and doing things and just seeing this beautiful creation that God created for us. So yeah.
I love that. And you were saying this past weekend, your daughter planned something fun. I just think it's so creative. Will you share just a bit about what you guys are up to this past weekend?
Yeah, so my daughter came up with this idea to have like a clue game. So she wrote like clues that we would have to solve on these index cards, and each clue led us to the next clue and then to the final destination, where there was this beautiful sign that said, "Congratulations, you win." But she also did some like trick clues in there. And so it was just super fun, very creative. And I just love how she thinks of things. I'm like, you should do those escape rooms. That's kind of her thing. She would love to do something for that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love how creative this up and coming generation is. There's just something special about them with creativity. I love that. Did she just take the lead in planning something, or do you guys do things like this regularly?
Um, no, I'm like, what, did she watch something? I'm trying to even remember, but she was like, I have this idea for this game. And I was like, okay, so what are you thinking? And she's like, I want to do like a clue game. I think it might have been in a book she read where there was some clues that they had to solve. She loves those kind of books, like just puzzly kind of books and just anything to like little mysteries, but most mysteries end up being like murder, and she's like, I don't want any of that. So trying to kind of find some that are not that is a challenge. But yeah, she's just very much like, let's do something, let's solve something. I'm like, okay, let's go.
Oh, I love that. That's so fun. Your kids sound amazing. Yeah, what are just some of your biggest takeaways being a mom of teenagers?
Ooh, I think some of the biggest things is seeing them come into their own more. Kind of just, like you go from like infant where they just kind of like lay there and like, I don't know, it's different. There's nothing wrong with an infant or anything. It's just different. And then they start kind of getting this personality. And then this personality is kind of getting a little more defined. There's a little more like testing boundaries and um, kind of like pushing on things to see, hey, what can I do? What can I not do? And I think it's just really kind of discovering who they are. And it's just been fun. It's a fun journey. And I'm so grateful that they want to hang out with me still. So I take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. For like any parents who are kind of about to enter that stage, um, would you give them any advice? Just like I know each season, each age kind of has different developmental growth. And so anything for entering that kind of the teenage stage where they're getting a little bit more autonomy and
Yeah.
vocal maybe.
Yeah, I think not necessarily listening to their words, but listening to their hearts. Um, yeah, like sometimes things that kind of come out are not actually what they're meaning to say, or it's coming from a place of not quite knowing how to express themselves. I would say that's probably the biggest thing is, as you enter that, like I remember it for myself, you enter the stage of being hormonal and your body's changing and your friends are changing and you're like, what is happening to me? And that's what's happening to your kids. And they're just trying to figure out, like, who am I? Um, who are my friends? Like, what am I doing? Where am I going? Yeah, it's just all those same kind of questions that I feel we as adults sometimes ask, but their brain isn't fully there yet. Like, they haven't experienced all the things that, um, like, I know I've experienced. So I'm like trying to, I tell them all the time, make the mess at home. Like, you can clean it up a lot easier here. So try new things, do the things that you need to do, obviously within reason. Like, when there's boundaries with that, but like, I want you to make your mistakes at home where you're protected and you're surrounded by people that love you and truly just want the best for you. So I think just kind of giving kids space. It feels we live in this world of go, go, go and activity, activity, activity. That sometimes they just need space to kind of feel what they're feeling. And yeah, just somebody to guide them as they go through that and to really just kind of sit with them and yeah, hey, what's on your heart today? What happened was maybe not a good thing. So, but what's really going on? And I know for my son, he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, but like, let's take some time to really kind of dig a little. So, but also not pushing, just kind of asking those questions and knowing when to, I'm here if you want to talk, and I'm going to give you some space because that's what you're needing. So yeah, just that kind of stuff I think is key, and just being available.
Yeah. You had mentioned not growing up in the church, but you encountered Jesus. If you want to share anything about that, I love like just hearing those stories. And then when it came to having kids, um, just what did it look like wanting them to encounter like Jesus as you have, and what did that look like in your parenting?
Oh, great questions. So yeah, I went to church a few times with friends growing up, like youth group kind of stuff. It was all about boys for me, so complete wrong motives. But I always felt God's presence, like I always knew He was with me. And yeah, so that was just always, yeah, like I just felt like He was always with me. Like I didn't know anything else. That was kind of just my words for it. And then I got married and I was pregnant with my daughter and I had this whole panic attack.
Mhm.
Gotta love my husband. So it was like this reality that I'm having this girl. I kept thinking that I was having a boy. Like, they tell you, like, I think people will tell you crazy things about like your pregnancies and stuff. And so I was like, for sure, I'm having a boy. I was kind of a little scared to have a girl. I don't really know why. I just was like, I don't know if I can, I'm not very girly. So I'm like, I don't know about that and just
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what happens when I have this child? I have no friends. My husband and I had just moved to a new city. I'm like, I have no girlfriends. Like, what do I do? And so my husband, being such a amazing, great guy, he's like, I'm gonna sign you up for a class for moms. So at the local hospital, there was a mommy and me class. So I went to that and I connected with a woman there, and she was a believer. And as they say, the rest is kind of history. She baptized me. Yeah, it was just a glorious, glorious time. And then yeah, I actually had to go through the steps to freedom in Christ. Um, it's kind of, yeah, I'm like, how do you describe that? But it's just becoming free in who God has created you to be. So I actually had a death assignment on my life.
Mm.
And from the time I was born, I like I had walking pneumonia and jaundice, and they had to put me back in the hospital. And then like every few years, like something crazy would happen. Like I tripped and fell and hit my eye, and like a quarter of an inch in either direction, I would have died. I remember them telling me that. I think I was 7 or 9. I was at a lake with my aunt and her family, and we were on a jet ski, and the jet ski went over the top of my head. Like we fell off, and it went over the top of my head and trapped me. And I opened my eyes, and all I saw was like water. And then it was like my whole life flashed before my eyes, which sounds so dramatic when you're a teenager, but that's kind of what happened. And then when my son was 1, I got a deadly bacteria infection. The acronym for it is C. diff. Lost a lot of weight, was like skin and bones, was not getting better. And I remember laying on my floor, and I was like, Jesus, you can have it all. Like, just make sure that my kids know that I love them. Like, I'm ready. Like, I'm good. So,
Wow.
again, sounds dramatic, but shortly after that, I started to get better. And then the craziest thing is I went to the dentist, and the lady there, she was like, yeah, my friend just died of C. diff. And I was like, wow. So it's a real thing. And yeah, like every doctor was like, it's super contagious. Nobody in my family got it. Like everybody was fully protected. Um, yeah, so I guess the big thing for me is just showing my kids that they like that our God is bigger, that he cares about everything. Um, like he's not a slot machine where you pull the handle and you get what you get, like it's like an actual relationship. And he loves you, but he'll discipline you. He's not afraid of your disappointments or your hurts or anything else. And yeah, I guess that's my goal as a parent, is to be, I want to reflect him as much as I can. And yeah, I just invite them in that journey of, hey, today I'm not my best. Like I'm not. So I just need some extra grace, just like when they're not their best. So yeah, I think it's just stuff like that, of just really kind of inviting them into my process. And um yeah,
Wow.
I hope I answered your question. Sorry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Girl, you've been through a lot. Wow. Yeah, wow. That's beautiful. I know you had recently mentioned reading a book that was really powerful for you, called Imperfect Parenting, which is funny because our culture kind of seeks perfection in a lot of ways, but that might not be where like true life is found. So could you just share just some takeaways from the book that impacted you personally?
Yeah, so I think the big thing for me is just it kind of broke some boxes, because I had read Danny Silk's books, and I was like, oh, his kids are gonna be like, they're like leading the way, and they're gonna be perfect and the perfect parents. And I listened to their podcasts and stuff, and I just had this idea of what it was going to look like. As somebody that didn't grow up in a Christian home, you kind of have this perception of what it is to grow up in a Christian home. And not necessarily that it's perfect, but yeah, I just felt like they had all these amazing tools. And Brittney's book is just, it's her journey of parenting, and it's glorious and beautiful and hard. And yeah, it's everything. And she even shares that she didn't write a book for a long time because she was in a battle for her daughter. And like I just that was just really relatable to me, of just really fighting for your kids, and continuing to pursue them when they are maybe pursuing other things, and not staying connected to your heart. And when there's a target on them that is the complete opposite of what God has for them, and how to equip them and to walk with them in that journey, where they're basically hating you and harming themselves. And yeah, it's just everything bad that is not, yeah. And how do you just kind of, as a parent, how do you love your kid and walk through them and get them to the place where they're set free and fully healed, and that you're able to do it from a place of love and compassion and empathy, but also having those boundaries so that you are protecting them. Yeah, it's such a beautiful story. I was like, this is the best. And Brittney also shares her own journey. If you've read like I don't remember which book, Chris Valentin talks about her story a little bit, and then so does her dad. And so to hear it from her perspective and like what she had done, she met a boy at a park and they had met online. And so to kind of hear it from her side, it was just, I don't know, I just love that kind of stuff because people see things differently. And so to be able to see it from the parent's perspective, as Danny shared, a trusted friend and prophet, as Chris shared in his book, and then as Brittney's sharing in her book, the child who's kind of making these decisions and maybe the motives for those decisions. And yeah, I think it's a beautiful picture of parenting. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're pursuing your kids in love and in connection, but also having those things where it's like, no, this is a no thing for our family. We don't go down this path and we don't do this, and I will fight for you. And just the spiritual struggle that she was in for her daughter. Yeah, it's just really beautiful.
Wow, that's so powerful. I know in the summary of the book, they talked about the goal of parenting being a safe, loving heart-to-heart connection with your kid, and not perfection, which can often feel like there's a high stakes, like fear mentality along with it. So, what would you say, like, how have you been able to do that with your kids? The safe connection. How have you been able to build that or restore that in your family?
I think it's kind of knowing why you're doing things. I think it's being really self-aware. Um, so like to me, fear-based parenting is when you're in the store and your kid is crying and having a temper tantrum. Do you give in to them and give them what they want because you're afraid of everybody looking at you and they're judging you? Or do you hold your ground and then everybody's like, you're the bad parent, like no matter what, your action is in fear and people judging you or yeah, like it's just outside motives versus like your heart. So I think for me it's just really about like I kind of shared like just trying to understand where my kids are at. Um just kind of knowing what space they're in. Um, I think when you're around people and you're with people, I mean, I'm with them a lot. So I can kind of pick up on things maybe. But I also ask Holy Spirit, like, what
Mm.
is going on here? And I'm really grateful for that wisdom and his prompting and leading me to things to kind of go and address and be like, hey, what's going on here? Um, but yeah, I think ultimately it's just really being available, whether it's the Lord talking to you and leading you to something that your kids looking at or that they're spending their time doing that they should not be doing. Um, or if it's something good, and then just being able to go sit with them and say, hey man, you made a right choice. That's awesome. And I see that. And just really acknowledging the things that they're doing. And yeah, just being able to I think the biggest thing is turning off everybody else and
Mm.
just turning on what's going on with your kid and maybe what they're needing. But I also think it's important that you're taking care of yourself because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't actually do much good for anybody else. Um, and that was a lie that I had believed was, oh, I just have to keep giving everything to everybody else and I'll do that for myself later or oh whatever. And it's like, no, I actually do need to take care of myself. Like, and knowing that like you're worthy to be taken care of and to carve out that time for yourself. And it's not taken away from anybody else. And you're not like selfish and you're not like I feel that there were all these labels placed on moms that if you did something for yourself or if you yeah, it was just I think that's the biggest thing is we criticize each other so much and it's like no, like you're the best you for your kid. You're the best you because you're created in the image of God and he loves you so deeply and that's truly all that matters. And I think knowing your identity is probably the biggest thing of knowing, yeah, like how to parent. I just feel it's all super connected. And I love, um, I love what Danny and Brittney bring to the table because they are on a mission to raise whole, powerful, equipped like families that are really pursuing each other. And like I have a heart for that. Like I have read their books. I have seen like putting those tools in action. I've seen it, and I am so so grateful for everything that they have shared and the wisdom that God has given to them to equip us, because it has changed my family for sure. Like just knowing that my goal is to love my kids and to have a relationship with them. It's not like they're 18 and I'm like, okay, I'm done with you. Have a nice life. Like, no, I want to be in your life forever, and to have a relationship and to be connected, and to be somebody that you can come to and that you trust, and that you value my opinion and input into your life as you grow and need advice. Like, yes, please call me.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love your heart so much.
Thank
Um,
you.
I get to work with some parents with my job, and I get a lot of questions, and I'm not a parent yet, so I'd love to hear your perspective on the topic of social media and how you've navigated that with your kids. And I know it might depend on the child, the kid, or your family. But yeah, just curious, like how that has impacted your family, and yeah, how you guys see that.
So we are not a social media kind of family. I think I'm the only one that is on social media. My kids honestly don't have a desire to be on social media. So that has probably been the biggest thing that has made us not move towards that. And ooh, so my husband works children that are trafficked. So yeah, I have a really, yeah, they need to be protected. So I remember hearing somebody say this recently, and I don't remember who, but it was is basically our houses for kids used to be like a safe, protected space. If you were bullied at school on Friday, you would have the weekend to just kind of be loved on and nurtured and poured into by your family. And then Monday, you're like, I can take on the world again. And,
Yeah.
you go in with your head held high. And um, that's not the case anymore. It's pretty consistent. The bullying is all the time, day and night. There's no break from it. And if there is a break, like, are your parents pouring into you to like so much that it's taken away the negativity when it's that consistent? So, those, I would say, because of that kind of stuff, I have no desire for them to be on social media. I don't think they're missing anything from it. Yes, I want my kids to be smart and to make good decisions. And so it's one of those things where I'm like, it's your guys' choice. Um, there will, of course, be like, you can't have a phone in your room. You can't, like, especially past certain times. But I think you have to know what your family values and what's important to you. And then I think you pursue those things. So if your family doesn't live near you, and social media is a way for your kids to connect with family members, that's beautiful. And I say go for it. But if you're just using it as a tool to stay in contact with friends that live in your neighborhood, that go to your school, I don't know if it's worth it. You're just kind of giving people access to you, and you just
Mm.
kind of want to protect who has access to you and who's speaking to your identity, especially when you're in those formative years of not really knowing who you are and trying to figure that out. And so I
Mm.
think as parents, we need to kind of protect that time and that space of, hey, like we want to love on you and we want you to know who you fully are before we kind of let you into some of these environments where maybe you might be attacked, or um yeah, somebody might hate you because you're a Christian. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, like you have no control over what people are going to say. So just, yeah. So I don't know. I guess that's how I would view it, is what's really important to you and what are your values. And then, um, making sure that you're loving your kids and pouring into them more than maybe the negative stuff that they might be getting. Um, yeah, it's hard. So
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. I I love what you said about their identities being formed, and what are ways that you have spoken either identity or shown identity, or helped your kids recognize who they are?
I make them go to conferences with me. No. Um, I do, but no. Um,
Yeah, that's okay.
yeah, I think the big things is just, mm, yeah, just saying who they are. Like to my son, I'm like, man, you are a protector. Like he has a justice piece in him, and I'm like, man, you want to fight justice. And he's so creative. He's a builder. He loves Legos. He can listen to an audiobook and build Legos for hours, and he is like so happy, and it's glorious. Um, and so like speaking that into him, but not in a way where it's like, you're going to be an architect or you're going to be an engineer. Um, but like, no, like, man, you are so creative and God created you that way. And that's so beautiful when you create these things. And he tells these stories and he remembers details, and you're like, how do you remember that? Like he went on the Star Wars ride. I don't remember what it's called, at Disneyland with his dad, and his sister was like, I'm not going on that. And so she's like, well, tell me about it. And he's like telling like every single detail of the ride, and like just knew everything. And I'm like, man, that's amazing that you know all of that. That's so beautiful. And yeah, just also like looking for Bible characters. I'm like, you're like a David, like you're going for that justice. And then it's the same thing for my daughter. She is sorry, my eye's switching.
Mhm.
It's the same thing for my daughter. She's like, she is, people have called her Esther. And I'm like, oh yes, she is. She is such a servant. She blows me away. Sometimes she does things for me that it's just like she'll like massage my feet for me. She'll do the dishes for me just because she knows I'm like trying to do things. And like she comes out to the kitchen sometimes when I'm making dinner. Hey mom, did you need help? Oh yeah, I need the sauce made for this. Oh, I like making the sauce. That's great. I'll do that. Thanks, kid. Um, she's an amazing big sister. I tell her that all the time. She's a nurturer. She's a lover of people. Yeah, just big hearted. So I think the big thing is not seeing our kids as their mistakes.
Mm.
And just saying, hey, God, how do you see them? Like you created them. What's your heart for them? What's your vision for them? And catching his vision, and not limiting to them to, oh, you pushed your sister on the swing. Oh, you're a bad kid. Like, no, you're actually not. You just made a bad choice. And we all make bad choices, and we all do things we are not proud of. And like, we have to learn from those mistakes. And yeah, like, how do we foster that and nurture that in home? And, I think the big thing is speaking to who they are and not to what they do. Like even my daughter, when she serves with like making food, sometimes I don't want those to be connected. I want it to be like, oh my gosh, you're such a servant and you saw a need and you met it. And I so appreciate that. Yeah, just that kind of stuff where you're just speaking that into them more. And also like knowing your heart in those moments. Because if your kid makes a big mistake or if they spill something all over the floor, you can be like, if you're stressed because you're trying to hurry and go somewhere and they spill milk all over the floor and you're like, oh, one more thing. No, I'm trying to get out the door. And so kind of knowing where you're at in those moments and kind of taking a break and, hey man, you made a mess. Let me help you or show you. Let's get some paper towels and clean this up. And yeah, I think a lot of it is checking your heart and then knowing that we all make mistakes and that your kid is not going to be perfect and they're not going to not make a mistake. Like that's how you learn. And so I'm like, make your mistakes, like go for it because we're going to learn and we're going to do this together. I have to apologize to my kids all the time. Hey man, I was like really grumpy this morning. You guys, I'm really sorry. I apparently need some more sleep and I'm sorry that I took it out on you. I am definitely not perfect and I have to go and clean up that mess. And yeah, I think modeling identity too is key, knowing who I am and being confident of that. And then when I do make mistakes, like that doesn't define me. So yeah. Sorry, that was a
Amazing.
long answer.
No, I love it. So many good nuggets. Just as we wrap up, would you pray over the parents that are listening to this, whatever is on your heart, whatever the Holy Spirit inspires you to share, and just cover them as they go on this, yeah, just this coming week and month and in their parenting journey. Would you mind sharing a prayer over the community?
Of course. Oh, Jesus, I just thank you so much that you are here. I thank you so much that you are for us and that you are with us. I thank you that you go before us and that you cover us. I thank you that, yeah, that you've designed family and that you've designed family for us yeah, to just be nurtured in, to make messes in, to make mistakes in, but then yeah, to learn how to make messes and how to set boundaries in just good, healthy ways. Yeah, I thank you so much for the parents that are going to listen to this podcast. I thank you, Lord, for each one of them. I pray that this just speaks to them. I pray that it encourages them and lifts them up and knows that there is no such thing as a perfect parent, but there is a perfect parent for the kids that you have given to them. Yeah, Lord, I thank you that you have given each of us vision to raise the kids that you have blessed us with. Yeah, and I just pray for all the kids, Lord. I pray that this generation that's being risen right now, Lord, I pray that yeah, that just all strongholds are broken by the blood of Jesus. I pray that these kids know who they are and whose they are. I pray that they passionately pursue you, Jesus. I pray for encounters for parents and for children. I pray that there's no way that they can deny that you are real and that you are for them and that you only have good things for them, Lord. I thank you that I get to be a parent. I get to raise these beautiful kids. Yeah, I just pray blessing over all the kids, Lord. I speak life over every single baby. I speak a life to each mom's womb. I speak a life over this land, Lord. And I just thank you so much for just your vision for kids and for family. And I thank you so much for yeah, just community. And I just pray for the people right now, Lord, that are struggling, that you just bring the right people to just wrap around them. I thank you that you cover them and that you protect them. Yeah, and I just pray when our vision gets like small, that you would just enlarge it and enhance it. Because I just feel that your vision for kids and for people is just so much bigger than we have capacity for. I just pray, Lord, that you enlarge our capacity and you just teach us how to be parents, and that we just come to you when we are like, what do I do? What do I do? How do I help them? Yeah, definitely not easy. Thank you, God, that you are just so good. Thank you so much for this time. And I thank you so much for Lauren. I thank you for her heart for people and for their stories and the way that she honors them. She is such a gift, and I just pray blessing over her life. So thank you so much.
Amen. Oh, thank you, Cassie. You have such a mother's heart. Like I can feel the comfort and the tenderness of God as you speak. And so I pray that our listeners are feeling that as well. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.